What's up, everybody? Another smarter e-gym review I got for you today. I'm reviewing the Motion Space M1 Pro, or it's called the Motion Space Smart Trainer. I'm not exactly sure. I'm seeing different names for this product. Now, this was sent to me to review a while back, and at this point, I really don't need any more of these machines. But with that being said, kind of spoiled. If you haven't used these machines, I think all the features are still there in more of a kind of budget-friendly, relatively budget-friendly package in this setup. This would make it my third e-gym related product. I reviewed first the Squats Apollo board, which I will link this and other reviews down below in the description box if you guys want to check it out. That product seemed very similar to this one. It might be made even in the same factory because the dials, even the voice prompts, are exactly the same. I've of course reviewed the Speedian's Gym Monster, which is kind of in a category all of its own. I do think that is the best smarter e-gym. I'm putting this thing more in the platform category of smarter e-gyms. Maybe most comparable to maybe the top tier in this category would be the Vitruvian. Now the Vitruvian is much more expensive than this. It also goes up to like 440 pounds. This thing goes up to 265 pounds. This thing is more in the relatively budget-friendly category. It's still pricey at its full price is $19.99, but if you use the discount code SBT, it drops it down 20% down to $14.99, which I understand is still definitely high for a lot of people. But in this kind of category of e-gyms, that's kind of the ballpark as far as a lower end spectrum of stuff you'd be pricing out to pay. I definitely did not need this machine. I am already spoiled at this point with this kind of flywheel, magnetic flywheel technology. With that being said, I think if you don't have one of these things, I do believe in the future, most people are gonna have these things, definitely if not in their home gym, you're gonna see these things in the gym because this tension is so unique. It's also so versatile and easy to kind of change between different weights, not to mention all the various features, which we'll get into here. But I would say with the Motion Space, whatever this thing's called, it is very practical. One thing that's a big plus with this compared to the Squats Apollo board, that Squats Apollo board was a straight up beast to lug around. My wife actually really liked it, but for someone like my wife, the biggest thing it's got going for are these wheels. It's heavy out of the box. You guys are seeing the unboxing here, but it's very easy and intuitive to kind of pull it out of the box. It folds up, it wheels around very easily, so you can easily store this in the closet, bring it out when you want to work out, and then you just pull the pin and it essentially folds out like that. It comes with your standard fare of attachments, one long bar that has to be relatively long to accommodate the kind of the distance, because you can put a bench on this thing, which if you guys have seen so far in the footage here. It's got an on-off Bluetooth connector thing, which was very easy. Once I put the batteries in, I touched it and it paired right away instantly. So very easy to kind of turn the weights on and off. Certainly added an important safety feature. Bars a little bit bigger in diameter, but that's fine. A little bigger for my preference as far as like the distance too. Comes with some handles, kind of more of a cheaper type of metal, but still the handles are definitely there and they feel good. Good distance and good kind of thickness in that. Gave you some carabiner clips, a squat belt, which I was a little disappointed in because the squat belt on my Squats Apollo board, I actually loved that. I actually didn't have a squat belt. I just took a weightlifting belt and put a carabiner clip on that. Really did make for an awesome belt squat attachment. It really felt very comparable to those like really expensive belt squat machines. This, unfortunately, at least I haven't worked with it so far, doesn't work out too well because of the way the cables are kind of pulling on me, but I'll keep messing with that. Came with some ankle attachments as well. And out of the box, this thing was ready to go. I plugged it in. I didn't even mess with the app, and honestly, I'm not gonna mess with the app, but to me, that's one of the good things this thing has going for it. Some of these smart gyms, you need the app to operate it, which I personally hate for a number of reasons. This one, you do not need that. You plug it in, it's got the simple dial mechanism, very similar to that Squats Apollo board. It's actually the exact same type of setup. You have 3 different modes. You have standard, eccentric only, so it's just giving you that negative kind of pull, and then you have isokinetic. So pretty easy to just get going here. There is a way, if you jump on the app, to actually make the thing louder and connect to what your workouts are, and there's a workout library there as well. But I'm just gonna show you. I'm gonna put down let's say 35 pounds. You hear a little prompt, and I'm just gonna show you. Okay, so this is 35 pounds, and this is pretty tough. Honestly, I mean, it's just a unique type of stress compared to if you get a 35-pound dumbbell, and even on the standard mode, it almost feels eccentric. I mean, it just kind of starts pulling you down. As soon as you kind of let up with it, it just feels like it wants to slowly pull you. But my point is, it's just different. The only negative, like I said, is it's kind of pulling me out to the side very slightly, given the way the pulley system's set up. And now I got 35 pounds of eccentric tension. If I pull, nothing happens. If I start letting up, each motor is kind of pulling me independent of the other arm. So it's not totally, it's basically very equal to whatever tension you're giving off on each arm. but it just feels like that motor's kicking in and it's just slowly ratcheting you down. So I love this. I love this capability. I think to me, just having one of these things for this function alone, to me, would be worth it. In the isokinetic mode, I don't really want to short sell. I honestly don't think I've given it enough chance because isokinetic mode, it kind of matches the speed you're going at. See, if I just kind of go light with light kind of force into it, it'll respond the same way. If I start forcing myself into it, it starts to respond the same way. And honestly, I could see a lot of potential with this. It really could do some great like burnout sets towards the end of a session. Even after doing like that one set, it gives you kind of a nice pump. So actually isokinetic's pretty cool. It's hard not to compare this to things I've already tried, most specifically to my Expedience Gym Monster. The feel is very similar. The Gym Monster I'd say feels a little bit smoother. This is still fairly smooth. If you didn't know any better, you wouldn't notice much of a difference. But there's a little bit of a kind of a, I don't know how to describe it, more like a slight drag as you're kind of pulling down. It might just be the cords kind of rubbing against the side that you're kind of hearing. But overall, everything feels great. I love that you actually can throw a bench on top of here. And this is one of the benefits I like having like a relatively cheap, lighter bench, because I can just throw it on there and throw it off very easily versus like a heavier one. Be a little more cumbersome to kind of put on. So there are some pros and cons of having lighter versus heavier benches. But doing this, obviously you get the benefits of doing some really good key exercises, which where I think these types of platform models really shine are really similar to like my X3 setup. I think things, well, specifically like bench pressing, this is something you can't do. You put the bench on this platform and you put that variable resistance on. Same thing with my Expedience. There's something about this magnetic flywheel resistance pulling you straight down in this straight path that really taxes my chest in a unique way. So flies feel great on here. Really anything chest related feels great on this machine. Not to mention, again, you can turn the weight on and off from here, so it's not too awkward. Rows can be hit or miss. You certainly can do bent over rows. You can do single arm rows, but sometimes you can't get as much extension out of that. Shoulders feel excellent from single joint to overhead presses. Bicep curls feel amazing on here, and I kind of expected as much. Triceps are kind of a weak point. If you like overhead tricep extensions, you're good. You can do skull crushers. You can do some unique, better kickbacks in my opinion, because the kickbacks have this constant tension with this cable kind of pulling you. But I would say the triceps are a weaker point in my opinion. And then certainly squats and deadlifts also feel good. A downside that you just can't get around with these kind of platforms is that line of pull. I like the Expedience in the sense that the line of pull is more narrow with the way the cables are pulling you. This has to be wider to accommodate that kind of bench setting. So the bar is obviously very wide. And so when you're always doing things, not many people pay much attention to this. I do notice it all the time, is even when I was using cable machines when I used to go to the gym, is I really like how that pull is coming from. So it's a little more kind of outside, kind of pulling you from the outskirts of the machine, which does make it feel good for things like chest flies. I like how that angle was. But for certain things, again, like deadlifts and squats, it still feels good. But you can notice that when you get kind of a wider bar with this pull pulling the way it is. Functionally, I think this thing is designed really well for the average person, especially if you got like a small apartment, or again, you're someone who wants to put this away in a closet and store it with like say your vacuum. That's kind of a spot I would think of in some people's houses you can store this with, just in the way it rolls around. But I actually like how the little plastic comes up here and has these little support bars for the barbell. I actually like that too. Now getting into some overall pros, I think if you already own an eGym or Smart Gym, this thing's probably not gonna be in your ballpark, but if you do not have one, the biggest thing this thing has going for it is the fact that it collapses. You don't need an app. You can plug it in, turn it on, just dial up the tension wherever you want to, and you will get some unique stimuluses, unique exercises out of some of those key exercises I just said earlier. So it's very versatile in the sense that you can throw your bench on there. You can do a variety of exercises for a small space or a small footprint. And then the cons of this machine, of course, are that it's electric. This thing eventually, I assume, will wear out. You're not going to be replacing parts on this. We don't really know the longevity on really this or any of these e-gyms that are coming out there so far. And my own personal preference, but this is with any of these types of bigger platforms, would just be that kind of line of pull that you're experiencing on this machine, the way it's kind of designed. But that is it, guys. If anything does happen with this machine, I keep messing around with things that I have, so it does break down, or if anything new happens, I will report this back to you. But I can see this being something my wife will definitely be taking advantage of because it is so easy to kind of fold up and actually get out of the way. Very cool, useful tool. That's it though, guys. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts, and I will see you on the next review and video.